All right, let's just jump right in. When you hear the word Montessori, what comes to mind? Right? It's probably those beautiful, calm classrooms, maybe some independent kids, and definitely all those iconic wooden materials. But here's the thing. What if I told you the whole system, and I mean especially its incredible approach to math, has a secret origin story? One that almost nobody talks about anymore.
Just let that sink in for a second. We tend to think Montessori is for gifted kids, or at least kids who are developing typically. But the truth is, these methods, they weren't created in some fancy school for the wealthy. No, they were forged in a place people were sent when there was nowhere else to go. For children who had been written off as completely unteachable.
This one sentence, it just flips the whole script on what we think we know about Maria Montessori. And it's the absolute key to understanding why her math materials are so powerful, especially for kids who are struggling.
So yeah, let's go back to where it all started. We're in Rome, it's the turn of the 20th century, and there's this young doctor, Maria Montessori. And she's about to stumble upon a discovery that's going to change the game for learning forever.
This right here, this is the light bulb moment. She's watching these kids in an institution, and they're on the floor picking up crumbs. Now, anyone else, and I mean anyone else, would have seen that as just another symptom of their so-called deficiency. But Montessori, she saw something completely different. She realized, wait a minute, this isn't a medical issue. This is an education issue. These kids weren't broken. They were starving, but not for food. They were starving for something to do with their hands, something to touch, to feel, to think with. Their brains were literally being deprived of input.
And this timeline, wow, it really puts it all into perspective. See, Montessori didn't just invent this stuff out of thin air. She was standing on the shoulders of giants. These guys, Itard and Seguin, who were pioneers in special education. But here's the kicker. Their hands-on methods were totally ignored by the mainstream. So Montessori takes their ideas, she refines them, and the results, they were absolutely staggering. Get this, the very children that society had locked away and labeled deficient, they took the same public school exams as quote-unquote normal kids, and they passed. This wasn't just a big deal. It was an earthquake in education. It proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that the problem wasn't the kids, it was how they were being taught.
Which brings us to the tools themselves, because that incredible success story wasn't magic. It was all about a revolutionary set of learning materials. Materials that are basically the ancestors of everything you'd find in a special ed classroom today.
You gotta love this quote, right? It just captures the idea so perfectly. All those tools we now know are best practice for teaching math to kids who are having a hard time, they didn't just fall out of the sky. They have a direct family tree, a clear line of descent, and if you follow it all the way back, you land right at Maria Montessori's doorstep.
Just look at this. You see base 10 blocks in a classroom? Their great-grandma was the Montessori golden beads. Using fraction tiles, those are straight out of the metal inset circles playbook. This isn't just a happy coincidence, you guys. It's a direct lineage. It took the field of special education decades of research to land on the same exact conclusion that Montessori figured out just by watching kids. You have to hold math in your hands before you can ever hope to hold it in your head.
So the big question is, why? Why is this so incredibly effective? Montessori didn't have access to modern brain scans, but her observations were so spot on that neuroscience is now basically just catching up and confirming everything she knew 100 years ago. There is some serious science behind why this method works.
It all boils down to a really cool idea called embodied cognition. And the simple version is this. Thinking isn't something that just happens between your ears. We think with our entire bodies. So when a kid is moving beads on a wire, they're not just doing a math problem. Their brain is physically building the concept of that number using their hands, their eyes, their muscles. It creates a much richer, stickier, and more permanent memory than just staring at a number on a worksheet ever could.
And then there's this, which is just brilliant. Cognitive prosthetics. Think of it like this. For a child, maybe one with a learning disability, their working memory, the brain's little notepad, gets full really fast. It's easily overwhelmed. While the Montessori materials act like an external hard drive. The tool itself holds all the complicated steps and information. This frees up the child's brain power to actually focus on understanding the why behind the math.
And here's exactly how they do it. The materials basically do the heavy lifting for the brain. They have a built-in control of error, which is a fancy way of saying the material itself shows you if you've made a mistake, a piece won't fit, or you'll have one left over. This takes the teacher and the fear of being wrong out of the equation. It's all designed from the ground up to support the brain and make really complex ideas feel simple and accessible.
Okay, so we've got the history, we've got the science, but let's bring it down to earth. Let's talk about real kids. How does this whole approach actually work for children with different ways of learning?
So let's start with a child with dyscalculia. You can think of it as math dyslexia. For these kids, numbers can feel totally abstract and meaningless. Connecting a symbol like 5 to the actual quantity of 5 things can be incredibly difficult.
For this kid, the Montessori materials are a lifesaver. The number rods make quantity something you can see and feel. The 10 rod is literally 10 times longer than the 1 rod. There's no abstraction. You use sandpaper numerals to trace the shape of the number, burning it into muscle memory. And maybe most importantly, no time tests. Ever. Because the goal is understanding, not speed. What a massive relief that is for a child who's struggling.
All right, now what about the kid with ADHD? The kid who just cannot sit still. You know, the one for whom a traditional desk and a chair can feel like a prison.
A Montessori classroom doesn't just tolerate this child, it feels like it was designed for this child. Movement isn't just allowed, it's a necessary part of the work. You're supposed to get up, walk across the room, carry a heavy tray, roll out a mat on the floor. That physical engagement actually helps to focus the brain way more than just telling a kid to try harder to pay attention ever could.
Okay, so what does this all mean for you? For parents, for teachers, for anyone who loves a kid who finds math hard? This is the part where we make it real. Let's turn all this history and science into stuff you can actually do.
First, and I really want you to hear this, if your child is struggling with math, it is not because they are lazy. It is not because they aren't smart. It is not their fault, and it is not your fault. It is a mismatch between how their brain is wired and how they're being taught. The problem isn't the child. The problem is the instructional method.
So here's a little emergency protocol you can use at home. 1. Find the floor. Start at whatever level your kid feels successful, even if it seems way below their grade. 2. Take away the clock. No more time tests, no more speed drills, just get rid of them. 3. Go deep, not wide. Focus on one single concept with one tool until they've truly mastered it. And 5. Let mastery be your guide. If it takes 6 months for them to master that one tool, that's not too long. That is exactly how long it takes.
This table says it all. Our gut instinct when a kid is struggling is to throw more worksheets at them. Don't. Go back to concrete hands-on materials. Our instinct is to stress about them falling behind. Don't. Follow their pace. But the biggest mistake we all make, we take the hands-on tools away too soon. The second we see them get it, we put the blocks away. Don't do that. Keep them out. Let the child decide when they're ready to move on.
And that really brings us to the heart of this whole thing. The biggest roadblock for so many kids isn't a lack of brain power, it's a lack of access. Have we given them a way to learn that actually works for how their brain is built? The question isn't, is this child smart enough? The question is, have we given them the right tools for the job?
So that's the question I want to leave you with. Think about those kids in that asylum in Rome over 100 years ago. They did something everyone thought was impossible. So what potential is just sitting there, waiting, inside our own kids? What could they show us? What could they become if we just stopped trying to fit them into a system that wasn't built for them and instead just gave them the right tools?